Now I am going to revise the formulae of portfolio management chapter. So in next 15 to 20 minutes, the entire portfolio management will be revised. All these formulas are printed in our book called Summary and Formula book. So where we have given the summary of all the concepts of SFM and all the formula that are required for a particular chapter. So you will find all this formula written there in portfolio management chapter of summary book. So open that book. We'll right now only discuss the formula part. So first formula is formula of return. Single period return without dividend. The formula is R is equal to P1 minus P0 upon P0. This formula we will use when dividend is not there. And when dividend is also there, the formula becomes P1 minus P0 plus D1 upon P0. And it is also called holding period return. Holding period return, a very useful formula in this chapter portfolio. Next is expected return of a security when probabilities of return are given. Expected return when probabilities are given. So the formula for expected return is summation xi into pi, return of the security under a particular scenario multiplied by the probability. Now next is, in case if you have portfolio, how will you calculate the portfolio return? Portfolio return is the weighted average return. Portfolio return is the weighted average return, that is formula wise expected return of the portfolio is summation of xi ri, where xi is the weight and ri is the return of the individual security. Portfolio return is weighted average return. Risk is measured by variance. So how to compute variance? First find arithmetic mean. First find arithmetic mean return, that is total of all the return divided by number of years. And then find variance. Variance is equal to summation r minus r bar square upon n. R minus r bar square upon n, that will give you variance. So usually we write like this, summation x minus x bar square upon n is the variance of the stock. Then standard deviation. Standard deviation is the square root of variance. So no separate formula. Standard deviation is written as sigma is under root variance. And if probabilities are given, then summation p into x minus x bar square. So if number of observation, past data is given, use the previous formula, this formula. And if the expected data is given, probability distribution is given, future data is given, ex ante data is given, then use probability based formula under root summation p into x minus x bar square. Then we will compute covariance between two stocks. Covariance between two stocks depends on the kind of data given to you. If you are given expected data, future data, where probabilities are given, covariance will be summation p into Rm minus Rm bar into Rs minus Rs bar. If correlation is given, sigma s is given, sigma m is given, the formula is R into sigma s into sigma m. That will give you covariance between the stock and the market. And in case if you are given past data, they will give you year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, return of the stock, return of the market. Then the formula will be summation Rm minus Rm bar into Rs minus Rs bar upon N. So when past data is given, I will divide the total of the deviation by N. When future data or probability is given, then I will use summation P instead of dividing by N. Formula for correlation. The formula for correlation is covariance upon standard deviation of stock into standard deviation of the market, right? And how do you interpret correlation? The range of the correlation is -1 to +1. The range of the covariance is -infinity to +infinity. Correlation, when it is +1, it is treated as perfect positive correlation. When R is equal to 1, portfolio risk will be maximum because you do not get the benefit of diversification. When R is equal to 1, portfolio risk is the weighted average risk of the individual security constituting the portfolio. That is, sigma A plus B will be equal to sigma A into WA plus sigma B into WB. This shortcut you will apply only when R is equal to +1. When R is equal to -1, sigma A plus B is equal to sigma A into WA minus sigma B into WB. This shortcut formula is applied for two stock portfolio only when R is equal to -1, right? Now, the formula which is asked quite often in the exam is standard deviation of a portfolio consisting of two stocks only. The formula is standard deviation of the portfolio is equal to under root W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus 2 W1 W2 covariance 1 and 2. If instead of covariance correlation is given, the formula will be under root W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus 2 W1 W2 correlation. R stands for correlation into sigma 1 sigma 2. Next is the formula for beta. This chapter has lot of focus on beta. The meaning of beta is the ratio of covariance of the stock or portfolio with the market upon the variance of the market portfolio. And from this formula you will derive the other formula. For example, covariance is R into sigma I into sigma m upon sigma m square. This is covariance formula, this is market variance. Sigma m cancel. So what you are getting is sigma I upon sigma m into R correlation. Next is the formula when you are given probability distribution table. You will be given probability, return on stock, return on market. Then the formula is nothing new, it is the numerator is covariance formula. Summation P for probability into Rs minus Rs bar into Rm minus Rm bar upon summation P into Rm minus Rm bar square. This is the formula for variance of the market portfolio. When past data is given, number of years, number of observations are given, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is given. In short, past data is given, the formula will be summation Rs minus Rs bar into Rm minus Rm bar upon summation Rm minus Rm bar square. Or this formula can be used when only 2 years data is given, or you are given data of 2 periods. In 2018, market return was so much, stock return was so much. In 2019, market return was so much, stock return was so much. So in that kind of problem where only 2 figures are given for market return and stock return, The beta is change in security return upon change in market return. And how do we compute the beta of the portfolio? Beta of the portfolio is weighted average beta. It is a simple summation of beta of the stock multiplied by their respective weights. Certain important points to be kept in mind in this chapter. Whether they mention or not, beta of the market portfolio is 1. Beta of the risk-free security is 0. Now we'll see the meaning of proxy beta. Come to paragraph 18 in the notes. Proxy beta means a representative beta. When a firm is not listed, its stock is not traded on the stock exchange, then we cannot calculate beta of that stock. In that case, beta of a comparable listed firm is used. Necessary adjustments will be made for difference in debt equity ratio, tax rate, and you will be able to find out the beta of that unlisted company. So when we use another company's beta to arrive at the beta of an unlisted company, then that other company's beta is called proxy beta. Minimum variance portfolio. Paragraph 19. Minimum variance portfolio means if there are two stocks in a portfolio, how much should be the weight assigned to the two stocks so that the overall portfolio risk is minimum. So the formula depends on the data given to you. So suppose we have two stocks X and Y. Weight of X will be equal to sigma Y square, means variance of Y, minus covariance of X and Y upon sigma X square plus sigma Y square minus 2 covariance X and Y. Then minimum variance portfolio when correlation is given, same formula, weight of X is equal to sigma Y square minus R into sigma X into sigma Y upon sigma X square plus sigma Y square minus 2 into R into sigma X into sigma Y. Now there is a shortcut also. When R is equal to plus 1, the formula can be reduced to Wx equal to sigma Y upon sigma Y minus sigma X. And when R is equal to minus 1, Wx will be equal to sigma Y upon sigma Y plus sigma X. Use these two shortcuts only when R is equal to 1 or minus 1. Now we'll come to the world famous Nobel Prize winning CAPM model. As per CAPM, the expected or required return is equal to RF plus beta into RM minus RF. RF for risk-free rate, RM minus RF is called market risk premium. RM minus RF is called market risk premium, and beta into RM minus RF is called security risk premium. How to take decisions based on CAPM? So come to paragraph number 24 now. How to take decision based on CAPM? If expected return, look at this line, is less than CAPM return, expected return is less than CAPM return, the stock is overvalued, sell. If expected return is greater than CAPM return, the stock is undervalued, buy. If expected return is equal to CAPM return, the stock is correctly valued, hold. Next is the formula of characteristic line called CL in short. Equation of the characteristic line is y is equal to a plus b into x. or you can write return on the stock Rj equal to alpha plus beta into Rm. That will be simple. So Y stands for average or expected return for the security. This is Rj. X stands for expected or average return of the market portfolio. This is B stands for beta, and A stands for intercept of alpha, which can be calculated as Y minus beta into X. So alpha is equal to stock return minus beta into Rm. Next formula is slope of characteristic line. Slope of characteristic line is beta. Beta is the slope of characteristic line. You can just write one more thing. Beta here is difference in stocks return upon difference in market return. Difference in stocks return upon difference in market return. That is the slope of characteristic line. Now we'll see capital market line. Paragraph 28, capital market line. So capital market line deals with stock which are perfectly positively correlated. That is R is equal to 1. It deals only with efficient stocks. It deals only with efficient stock. So what are the formula related to capital market line? The formula related to capital market line is expected return will be equal to Rm minus Rf into sigma of the stock upon sigma of the market. Just add here Rf plus risk-free return and plus the premium. The premium depends on the risk that you are taking. The premium depends on the risk that you are taking. So I'll read it again. Rf plus Rm minus Rf upon sigma m into sigma I. And this Rm minus Rf upon sigma m is called slope of the capital market line. R expected return on market minus risk-free return upon sigma m. Next paragraph is 30, measuring project beta. So there will be questions relating to businesses, and then you have to find out first project beta. Based on project beta, you may have to compute the project return. So project beta, that is business risk of the overall project, which is financed by debt and equity, and assuming there is no tax, will be weighted average beta of debt and equity beta. So what is the formula for project beta when there is no taxation, financed by debt and equity? Beta of equity into E upon D plus E. This E upon D plus E is weight of equity, plus beta of debt into D upon D plus E, that is weight of debt. And when there is taxation, D will be substituted by D into 1 minus T. So now the beta of the project will become equal to B equity. You can just mention here B beta of the project into E upon D into 1 minus T plus E, and plus beta of debt into D into 1 minus T upon D into 1 minus T plus E. So look at the problem whether tax is given or not. Some important things to be kept in mind when you are dealing with project beta type problem. Overall beta of the company will be same as other company if the two companies are similar, that is if they belong to same industry. Overall beta of two firms in the same industry will be equal. If there is a change in the capital structure, overall beta will not change. However, debt and equity beta can change. Third point, equity beta will be greater than debt beta. Equity beta is greater than debt beta because risk to equity shareholder is higher. Very important point now on the screen. If the beta of debt is not given, assume 0. For unleveraged firm means all equity firm, their overall beta is equal to firm beta, equal to project beta and equal to equity beta. So for an equity finance company, overall beta, equity beta, project beta are equal. Beta of equity will be higher than overall asset beta or project beta. Beta of equity will be always higher than overall asset beta or project beta. Just complete this line for a levered firm. But for an unlevered firm, which we have seen above, beta of the firm and beta of the equity will be same. Now next is required rate of return of a project. Required rate of return of a project is RF plus beta of the project into RM minus RF. Next is unlevered beta, which you will write as BU. Unlevered beta means overall beta. This problem of unlevered beta usually comes in proxy beta problem. So using a proxy firm, first you find out unlevered beta. So unlevered beta is levered beta upon 1 plus d by e into 1 minus t. And using this beta, you find out the levered beta of the company under question. Levered beta equal to unlevered beta into 1 plus debt into 1 minus t upon e. Next is reward to risk ratio using CAPM. Reward to risk ratio is expected return minus risk-free return upon beta. For all the stocks which are in equilibrium, the reward to risk ratio is same. You can just mention there, also called slope of security market line. Also called slope of security market line. Para 35, alpha. So alpha is the difference between actual return and return predicted by beta value. Alpha is equal to actual return minus CAPM return. How alpha is useful in investment decision? If alpha is positive, stock is undervalued, the decision would be to buy. Alpha is 0, correctly valued, hold. Alpha is negative, overvalued, sell. Next, very important is APTM, arbitrage pricing theory model. Return on the stock is equal to RF plus beta 1 into RM1 or R1. You can just write like this, return on the stock is RF plus beta 1 into R1 plus beta 2 into R2 and plus beta 3 so beta n into Rn. So this 1, 2, 3 can be different factors like interest factor, inflation factor, GNP factor. So this APTM requires you must compute different betas for each factor affecting the stock's return and their corresponding risk premium, and then compute the return of the stock. Next, para 37, systematic and unsystematic risk. Total risk will be divided into two, systematic and unsystematic. Systematic risk is non-diversifiable risk. This risk affect all companies in the economy and these are beyond the control of the management. Example of systematic risk: market risk, interest rate risk, regulatory risk, inflation risk. The formula for computing systematic risk: when variance is given, beta square into sigma m square. When standard deviation is given, beta into sigma m. Unsystematic risk is called diversifiable risk or firm specific risk. These risks affect only a particular security or economy. This can be controlled by the management to some extent. The formula for unsystematic risk is total risk. If variance is given, sigma s square minus beta square into sigma m square, and when standard deviation is given, sigma s minus beta into sigma m. Next is the formula of coefficient of determination. Coefficient of determination is equal to r square. Coefficient of determination is equal to r square. What is the purpose of coefficient of determination? It is used in calculating systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Okay, so systematic risk will be equal to r square into total risk, will give you systematic risk, and unsystematic risk will be total risk minus systematic risk. Paragraph 39. So this is written in your book also, explained by the index. So variance into sig r square, and unsystematic risk is your variance of the stock written into 1 minus r square, or you can say total risk minus systematic risk. One more thing is pending above paragraph 38. Sharpe index model. This is also tested in the exam. Under Sharpe index model, systematic risk of portfolio, you can just mention there, is beta of the portfolio square into sigma m square. Unsystematic risk of portfolio is weighted average of unsystematic risk. Weighted average of unsystematic risk, that is summation w ei square into sigma ei square, and total risk is equal to systematic risk plus unsystematic risk. Total risk is systematic or security market risk plus unsystematic risk. So those who are interested, they can just mention in para 38. Based on that, we have solved many questions in the class. Now come to paragraph 40, rule of diversification. Rule of diversification says, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification refers to investing in more than one security. Diversification reduces the risk. Greater the diversification, lower the risk. Very easy. And now one 10-mark question was asked on optimum portfolio theory. What should be the weight of the stocks in the portfolio and which portfolio should be selected is called optimum portfolio theory given by Sharpe. So this is also called Sharpe optimum portfolio theory. So under that, what I'll do, first I will compute the trainer ratio for each stock. So somewhere nearby write down trainer ratio is R minus RF upon beta, and then we will rank them from highest to lowest. Rank them from highest to lowest. After that, we'll compute the C value for all the stocks according to the ranking. First we will calculate C value for the highest rank, then next highest rank, like that. The formula is sigma m square summation r minus rf, this is rf, into beta 1 upon sigma I square upon 1 plus sigma m square into summation beta square upon sigma ei square. Select those stock whose Treynor ratio is above the cutoff point. The cutoff point is the highest C value. The cutoff point means the highest C value. Stock whose Treynor ratio is above cutoff point will be forming part of the portfolio. In order to decide the weight, first we'll compute their relative Z value, which is beta upon sigma E square into R minus Rf upon beta minus that C cutoff point. And after getting Z value for each selected stock, then you will compute the weights in percentage, Z value of a particular stock upon total of all Z values. Next is portfolio evaluation measures. Now here we have Sharpe ratio, which is R minus Rf upon sigma, Treynor ratio R minus Rf upon beta, and Jensen's alpha, actual return minus required return as per CAPM. So this portfolio evaluation measures we will cover in mutual fund chapter also. Now we will see portfolio rebalancing theories. Buy and hold policy means do nothing. Constant mix policy means you decide a proportion and frequent and at regular interval you check whether that ratio is matching or not. If not, you will rebalance your portfolio. That is called constant mix. And under CPPI, you will invest in equity equal to multiplier into the value of your asset minus the floor value. Floor value is decided by the investor. Multiplier is greater than 1, a number, it depends on the investor, and FV is the floor value. So every rebalancing date, you will calculate the value of your asset, value of your bond, value of equity, floor value, and if required, you will reshuffle your portfolio. Either you will buy stock, sell bond, or buy bond, sell stock. CPPI leads to buying more equity when the prices go up and selling equity when the prices fall. In constant mix policy, we buy when the prices are low and sell when the prices are high. Then come to theory of dominance towards the end of this chapter, para 52 at the end. Theory of dominance says when there are two stocks A and B, A will dominate B. That means A will be selected and B will be rejected when A has a higher return for the same risk, or A has a lower risk for the same return, or A has a higher return for the low risk. Then presence of A will not let anybody select B. A will be called dominating stock, B will be called dominated stock. Dominating stocks are also called efficient stock, and dominated stocks are called inefficient stock. Only efficient stock will form part of the portfolio. So this completes the revision of portfolio formulae. Thank you. All the best.